Well, we are so excited today to be speaking to the guy who wrote the book that inspired one of the biggest shows on TV right now. It's actually one of Apple TV's most watched shows ever, The Morning Show.
And since we're journalists, you can't be too surprised that we love this show. It's basically a look behind kind of the drama of the morning news industry, and it's really fun to watch. Jennifer Aniston's in it, Reese Witherspoon, so there's a lot of star power, and there's some fun contrast because obviously morning news is so light, everyone has a smile on their face, but then behind the scenes there's a lot of like dark drama going on. So we're on season 4 now, and the finale is going to come up in a couple days.
The show is based on the book Top of the Morning that was written by Brian Stelter, who you might recognize from being CNN's chief media analyst, and he basically embedded himself within Good Morning America and Today and gathered all these interviews and told the story of their epic ratings rivalry at the moment that it was transitioning from Today being on top to Good Morning America. So it was really interesting to see all of the strategy behind the scenes of who's hosting and the stories and branding and everything. So without further ado, let's get to our interview.
So Brian, we are such huge admirers of your work as a journalist, but also we're just huge fans of the morning show.
Thank you.
We think it does such a good job of just showing how chaotic and high stakes broadcast news can be. And so we wanted to start off just going back to the beginning because we know that the show is inspired by your book, Top of the Morning. So can you tell us what inspired you to write the book, like what the process was like?
The book was actually my book editor's idea. And I was meeting with editors in New York, pitching a bad idea for some other book that I never wrote. I honestly cannot even remember what the idea was. It was that bad. This guy took mercy on me. He said, what about morning TV? Early 2000 teens, This was one of the biggest chairs in TV. This was Katie Couric's chair, Meredith Vieira's chair, and now it was going to be Ann Curry. So we didn't know that there was going to be all this drama and she was going to get pushed out and GMA was going to beat Today. And we didn't know about any of that. Then the morning show world exploded in front of me and it became a really interesting story. But I think morning TV is always interesting because it's a vulnerable, weird time of day. People are just waking up. They turn on the TV. They want to see what's going on in the world. And they feel like they know the men and women who are hosts. They feel like it's part of the family. And these shows try to portray themselves as families, but they're actually incredibly dysfunctional.
Well, that's what we were thinking, like reading the book. It's like you were there when the pivotal moment happened. Like you could not have timed it better that you happened to be.
Yeah.
Were you kind of embedded in both shows?
I was. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I certainly didn't know when I was spending time in the control rooms what was going to make the final cut. GMA gave me great access. Why? Because they were winning. They were starting to win. Of course, they wanted me to tell the story, right? The Today Show was helpful in some ways, but they shut down on me once Ann Curry was demoted, once Matt Lauer was blamed, once it became a scandal. Obviously, those folks were not as accessible.
We know you were at the Times, then you moved to CNN. When your editor pitched you the idea of morning news, did that just kind of seem so random to you? Like, why not something on evening? Why a part of the industry that you're just not really a part of?
I definitely wasn't as steeped in the history of morning TV when he brought it up, but I knew that the mornings were where the money was and where the money still is. For the nightly news programs, yes, they have prestige and audience, but the real money is made in the mornings. And I could feel that shift happening as a beat reporter at the New York Times. So it did intrigue me for that reason. And also the mix of high and low, the mix of hard and soft news, the idea that when you are anchoring a morning show, you're doing cooking segments and you're doing fitness segments. But the biggest story in our lifetime happened on the morning shows. It was 9/11. All of a sudden you go from interviewing some author about some random book to covering the Twin Towers being attacked.
Yeah, I think reading your book and then watching the show kind of, because we've never worked in morning TV, it gives us a new appreciation for how versatile those journalists have to be.
Yeah.
So that kind of takes us into the show. How the heck did it happen that your book became this hit Apple TV show? Like, what did you get a call one day? Like, how to walk us through the process?
For people who don't know, what I'm about to describe is very, very, very rare. This does not happen. So somebody comes along and buys the TV rights. And that happened pretty quickly. There was an idea about a made-for-TV movie about all the drama. There was a script written, and then the movie never got made. And that's usually what happens. Usually that's where the project dies. For me, the book as a TV show got a second life a few years later. It was literally like 3, 4 years later when this guy, Michael Ellenberg, who had been an executive at HBO, called me up asking if the rights were available. He was able to show it to Reese Witherspoon and Jennifer Anniston. And then one day he calls me up and he tells me that Reese is interested. And, that's the moment where you realize, oh, this project's actually going to get made. It took a long time. It went through, years of development and production. It was a bidding war between some of the streamers and networks about who was going to acquire it. And for Apple, it made a lot of sense because it became Apple's first big tentpole show when Apple TV came onto the market.
And we know that you're a producer on the show, which is also so cool. We are interested in how involved are you? Are you helping come up with storylines? Are you kind of the person that they touch base with because you're in the industry so they can run stuff by you being like, is this realistic or not?
That's exactly what I do. It's the perfect side hustle. Being a consultant, being a producer on the show. Usually, once per season, I'm on set. I'll visit. I'll hang out with the actors and producers for a night, but they don't need me when they're on set. Where I'm able to be a little bit helpful is in the writing process early on when we're cracking open a new season, thinking about where to take the show, when the writers have questions about how the real newsroom actually operates. That's where I end up being helpful.
Yeah, I mean, you do a great job because something that we love about the show is that each season parallels what's happening in the journalism industry. Like season 1 was really focused on Me Too. Season 2 got into COVID. Season 3 was my favorite. Like the hacking, the corporate interest, like buying news was really interesting. And so now we're on season 4. Can you just tell us about how did you decide what to make this about? Obviously, it had to be pretty timely.
And the difficult thing about the show is because the writers are working on it almost 2 years before it streams, you really are, in a way, trying to predict the future. Referencing AI, referencing how artificial intelligence, Gen AI is upending media companies, both in positive and negative ways. I think you see some of the anxieties in newsrooms coming through in their characters. And of course, you see this continued corporate struggle over who's in charge, what's the identity, and what are the political stakes as well.
So as of now, kind of the central conflict from your book hasn't really been explored on the show. We haven't gotten to see a lot of characters from a rival, like morning TV show, and like maybe the passing of the baton of who's the leader. Could that be a theme in maybe season 5?
I would be surprised if it was.
It would be good.
I would enjoy it too. I think there's a lot there, but I think I think in the morning show, you're seeing this continued expanding of the world beyond just the morning day part, right? Yeah. So much of the corporate intrigue, and also, it's so important, just the personal experiences, the personal lives of the characters, right? I did think that's one of the most important observations that I brought to the project, especially early on, is that the hours, the lifestyle takes a toll, and being on TV fries your brain. And I think we see that in Alex Levy's character, to some degree, Jennifer Aniston's character on the show. It also means that you're up and you're at it and you're covering the news when everybody else is just waking up. Whether it's an election night, whether it's a football game, no matter what it is, people wake up and you're actually the one breaking the news to them. I know that's changing to some degree in the cell phone, digital media, social age, but there's still a really incredible connection between the viewers and the hosts. And I think that's the story to keep mining.
Yeah, I think you said in the book, like George Stephanopoulos wakes up at 2:45. I was like, oh my gosh.
And meditates right away.
And still meditates. Well, while we have you here, we also want to talk to you because we know you studied the media landscape. This isn't the only book you've written about networks. You've written a couple about Fox News. So we just want to get your take on what is happening right now. We see networks bowing to Trump through settlements or just straight up pulling hosts off the air. Are you worried about the future of broadcast journalism when you see things like this happening?
I think I'm worried about the future of journalism for 10 or 20 different reasons. And you're hitting on a big one, but I say that because I think it's not happening in a vacuum. Look at this month with Trump and the BBC. Trump is able to squeeze the BBC because it's vulnerable, because its business model is changing, because it's been losing trust from the audience. I think we saw that with CBS, with 60 Minutes, and Trump as well. Trump was able to turn this bullshit meritless lawsuit into something real, partly through the power of his office. I think the problem with making it out to be that simple is that CBS and ABC are also doing great work covering Trump on a regular basis, et cetera, et cetera.
Do you think that what's happening now is going to kind of forever change the media landscape in this way? Do you think what he's done in terms of taking a lot of the independence away from journalism, will that stay with us kind of past his term? Or do you think this is just a phase and we need to wait it out and things will go back to normal?
I don't know if he's taken independence out of journalism. I always point out that like these newsrooms are doing tremendous work right now during Trump 2.0. There is a part of me that believes there will be not a snapback to normalcy, but a drift back toward normalcy. This is where I, hold firm and steady, and I have to hold on to this, because if I don't believe this, then what are we all doing? Most people want to know what's real. Most Trump voters want to know what's true. Most Trump opponents want to know what is true in the world. And then they can fight about it, of course. But there is still a hunger and a desire and a need to know what is real and true in the world, especially in an environment where a president lies to the public constantly.